The U.S. payroll may lose 500,000 jobs in a U.S. government data revision, which means that all those numbers about those 13 million jobs that we have created may be completely wrong. So we'll be talking about that, what's happening there, and what we do with that. Prigozhin was reportedly on a plane that crashed, killing 10, and when I first heard the news, the first thing that came out of my mouth was, hey, you want to bet? But we'll talk about that, why I think that he wasn't on the plane, and what happens here. A New York City demonstration against ICE meets with clashes with the police, so we'll talk about what's happening there and what goes on with that. And a Delaware prosecutor who worked with investigator probing Hunter Biden's overseas dealings was so chummy with the president, he actually used the secret email address under the name Robin Ware, so we'll be talking about that. Plus, debate night at the end of the show. About 8 o'clock, we will be shutting down YouTube, so join me on Twitch and Rumble if you want to see that there. Otherwise, with that, we're going to head into it. We're going to check in the news, and I've got people in Boston. Ain't your daddy still in Des Moines? We can pack up tomorrow. Tonight, let's flip a coin. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar. On a special late show tonight, we are going to be going live and talking about the news here. We've got a few stories to go over with that tonight, but the big news of the day is the fact that tonight is going to be the RNC debate. Now, thing to keep in mind, I will be shutting down the recording for the audio platform, so all we talk about on the audio platform is going to be the news. I will not transmit the Republican debate to the audio platform, so that'll be coming up here. And a reminder that at 8 o'clock Central Time, we are shutting down YouTube because I am pretty sure that Fox News is going to copyright claim anything that goes on YouTube when it comes as far as what's going on with the debate. And we will be watching and live reacting to the debate tonight. And I will be going and we'll probably be talking about Tucker tomorrow. Also, by the way, tomorrow, there is going to be a major announcement for Contemporary tomorrow. If you're following me on Twitter, you already know what it is. But because of the late start, because of the debate and everything, we're actually not going to talk about this tonight. We're going to get through the news. We're going to talk about what's going on and the little bit of news that I have here. And tomorrow, I'll tell you what's going on and why it's going on the way that it's going on. But before we do that, before we get into any of that, and before we reveal too much of what's happening tomorrow, let's talk about what's happening in the news. And before we get started, of course, make sure you guys go check out great programming such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, The Porch Boys, Tweets by Brit, Mr. Behavior, The No Gimmicks Podcast, Silent Caster, Clown World Chronicles with Papa Palpatine, and Overruled with KTZed. Go check out all that great programming as we aim to bring you a better news experience from the common man, for the common man. Stop getting your news and your culture from people who hate you and wear suits that cost more than your house. Get your news and culture from people who are just like you. So go check out all that great programming. It's going to be a fantastic time. They are great people. I will personally advocate for all of them. And with that, let's get down into the news. Let's get down into what we are here for. And again, remember, get some popcorn because we're going to be here till 10 Central watching the morons who have no chance at the presidency pretend they have a chance at the presidency. Let's get started. Let's get the live chat up. And do feel free to chat in and weigh in with what you see on all this with the live chat because, well, that's what it's here for. Hey, look, that's me. That's not what I wanted to do. All right, let's get the live chat up here. Let's see what you guys are doing. DM Ryan is here. I once had a fire, and hey, man, my cat and my 67 Chevy were there. Of course, referring to Mr. Joseph Biden. Quest Fanning is here on the YouTube side and has joined us over on the Rumble side as well. I think I can see more folks over here than on YouTube. Some folks are just canceling their debate coverage. Well, that's because nobody that's on that stage tonight is important. And the Donald is going to carry all the air out of the room. So I think that we'll do the debate over here. It'll be a nice lead into what we're talking about tomorrow, and let's get started on the Dow for the day. The Dow rose today with the futures holding steady. Looks like they actually might be on a slight drop for the day, so that's what we see coming for that. But the Dow is up today to 34,472.98 points, or about a 0.5% up. That is 184.15 points rather on the advance. So looking good on the Dow, especially if your retirement is in there right now, definitely after the week that you've had this week. So that is what we see coming from that. On your Bitcoin, that also took a significant rise today, erasing losses that it's had for the last couple days and ending up at $26,470 and 50 US cents. So we're moving away from that on sale point. We're not to the 29,000 we were seeing earlier in the month and earlier in the quarter, but we're definitely seeing some increase coming off of this on the day. So that shot up 428.4 US dollars, or 1.65% on the day, and that is after taking a significant rise and then dropping into a V-shaped recovery before coming back and seeing a rise at the end. So that's what we see coming off of that for our Bitcoin. On your gas prices, in the Madison area, the west side continues to catch up with the east side, now down to 350 with a 360 outlier, 346 entering into the isthmus with 340 out on the east side. So not much change here. Gas prices are coming down in my area, and I hope they're coming down in yours. Remember, these are not your local gas prices. Go check your local listings to see what your local listings and your local gas prices will be. Wow, I can really talk today. Hey, I guess we'll be listening to people who can't talk anyway later on here, but that is what we see coming for that. And, well, it's holding steady right now. Your finance report from IBD comes: Dow Jones futures, hot NVIDIA earnings, guidance lifts AI stocks, market rally, still must do this. From Ed Carson, Dow futures were flat after hours, while the S&P and the NASDAQ rose as NVIDIA stock jumped late on results. The NVIDIA earnings report that has huge implications for other chip and AI stocks, as well as the nascent market rally attempt. Snowflake, which is not a bunch of Democrats, by the way, Splunk and NetApp were also reporting Wednesday night. The market rally attempt ran up on Wednesday ahead of the results with improving breadth. Treasury yields fell sharply amid some weaker economic data as well as disappointing results or guidance from the retail and consumer plays. The market is gaining some momentum but has not yet confirmed its rally attempt. NVIDIA ran strongly higher overnight on earnings. Splunk and Snowflake were also winners, while NetApp fell slightly. Meanwhile, a slew of AI-related names have also moved slightly to solidly on NVIDIA earnings. Some could offer buy signals on Thursday. Those include chipmakers Broadcom and Marvell Technology, two software makers like ServiceNow, Adobe, Palantir, and C3.ai, and Samsara, as well as server maker Supermicro Computer. Don't forget megacaps such as Microsoft, Meta, and Google parent Alphabet. In other news, Boeing has found a new 737 MAX manufacturing issue that may have resulted in hundreds of incorrectly drilled holes. The Air Current reported on Wednesday evening it's a job done by supplier Spirit Aerosystems, Boeing reported. It has a fixed near-term deliveries could be delayed, but the issue reportedly does not affect MAX jets in operation. Boeing stock fell modestly, testing a buy point in a 50-day line. Spirit Aero tumbled. Yeah, that'll be a fun one when you decide to go to the airplane again. Hey, are we going to be flying on a 737? Because I heard something about rivet holes somewhere. Now, realistically, if it hasn't caused an issue yet and there hasn't been an issue, they'll go back and they'll analyze this. And I do know how recalls work. They'll go back and they'll slip the thing out of service temporarily. And they'll go and analyze that just to make sure that it's there. And I mean, they check these rivet holes and everything regularly anyway, so it's not like it's going to be a huge deal, but I'm sure that Boeing is also going to come out with a kit to come back out and make it happen, and just silently when they're in for maintenance, refueling, or oil changes and things like that, they'll just happen to go back in and go check that. So this is not a huge deal by any stretch of the imagination. NVIDIA and Meta are on the IBD leaderboard. Microsoft is on the IBD long-term leaders. Adobe and ServiceNow are on the IBD 50. Google, Meta, and ServiceNow are on the IBD Big Cap 20. On your futures were changed little versus fair value, with Boeing still acting as a drag. The S&P climbed a half while the Nasdaq gained 0.9. Nvidia is a major Nasdaq 100 and S&P 500 component, along with the likes of Broadcom, ServiceNow, Adobe, Microsoft, Meta, and Google. Futures signal that the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq may test their 50-day lines on Thursday's open. And remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. So that's your finance news for the day. Your layoffs report coming to us from Guaranteed Rate, a mortgage broker, by the way, which is telling me that what they're telling us about the housing market and how it's still so wonderful, and the prices are coming down, and people are just they're waiting for the prices to come down a little bit more, and they're going to go out and start buying like lightning. Well, I think that's a bunch of bullshit, and we'll see why. Guaranteed Rate conducted 2 rounds of layoffs this month. From Connie Kim and Flavia Furlan Nunez. Guaranteed Rate, the seventh largest mortgage lender in the country, has laid off hundreds of employees across 2 rounds of layoffs this month, according to former staffers who were affected. By the way, living in Kenosha, I know people that work at Guaranteed Rate. 3 of them, I think. No, one of them doesn't work there anymore. 2 of them. I know 2 people that work at Guaranteed Rate. I don't know if they are safe on this round of layoffs or not. I will probably check in on that after the stream. In the first round, the Chicago-based lender laid off project managers, directors, and senior level positions, as well as tech staff, multiple sources told Housing Wire. The second round mostly affected non-tech workers and included its vice president of creative and operations training manager and a human resources director. Yeah, I'll be checking on my friends after the stream. Loan officers were let go in August as well. According to former employees, the company had 2,186 sponsors. Sponsored loan officers, wow, I can read today, as of Wednesday, per the National Multi-State Licensing System. One worker who was let go in the first round of layoffs said she was told the job cuts in August totaled about 800 positions, which I believe is give or take about 10% of the workforce. There was a budget number that every department was required to hit. Higher salary and director level titles were mostly affected. To hit the number, the impacted former employee told Housing Wire. According to the former employee, the layoff came the following week. Sales in July mortgage recruiting platform Modex shows that the company originated $1.64 billion in June, down 30% compared to the previous month. The volume is still higher than the $1.17 billion in January, the lowest level in the current mortgage business cycle. But of course, they're in Chicago, and it's January, and I don't know if you've ever been in Wisconsin or northern Illinois in January, but it gets really fucking cold. And people don't want to move at that time. Boomboxes says, new scariant coming to a town near you. It's an election strain. I think the Babylon Bee called it election yearitis. No, election Eurocron. That's what they called it. I would say the turnaround this time on market projects has been slowed down because of the market for sure, another former employee said, on the condition of anonymity due to fear of retaliation. So, 800 positions from Guaranteed Rate, but don't worry, the market is fine. Speaking of the market being fine, of course, from the New York Post, 500,000 jobs, 500,000 could disappear in dramatic revision of U.S. government data report. Which means, by the way, when the White House puts out their propaganda piece 3 times a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year on how many jobs they've created, well, it turns out that it's a bunch of bullshit. U.S. payroll growth in the year through March may have been weaker than previously reported, to the tune of 500,000 jobs, resulting in less robust numbers that could make the Fed think twice about further rate hikes, according to a report. Last year, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics employment reports repeatedly shocked economists with larger than expected payroll gains that saw over 10 million job openings for 20 straight months. A record-breaking streak that ended in January, and a key season, the Federal Reserve's continued rate hikes. However, Daniel Silver, the economist at JP Morgan Chase, estimates that when the federal agency's preliminary benchmark revision is released on Wednesday, it will be nearly 500,000 off from the total level employment reported in the year through March, according to a report shared with the Post. If Silver is correct, that would mean 40,000 fewer jobs per month over the 12-month period ended in March than the BLS originally reported. It's typical for the BLS to revise its past jobs reports. Typically, with every month of fresh payroll data, the agency looks back at the 2 previous months and edits the database accordingly. In the latest July jobs report, when hiring cooled to its lowest level since 2020, the BLS revised May by 25,000, meaning it's more likely that 281,000 jobs were added to the U.S. economy that month rather than the 306,000 originally reported. I wouldn't even believe that many, by the way. For the entire U.S. economy, I would say that we're probably close to 181,000 for the month of May. The BLS also benchmarks May payroll data in a more accurate report that covers non-farm employment called the Quarterly Census of Employment and Wages, which is based on state unemployment insurance tax records. Once March payroll figures are established, the change is proportionally distributed across the prior 12 months. The BLS's first quarter QCEW report will be released on Wednesday. Despite expectations that the QCEW will show weaker payroll growth figures, Silver said in his report that the revised average monthly rate of job growth would still look strong over the year through March 2023 at around 300,000. That figure, Silver noted, would trim down from the 337,000 average pace currently shown in the BLS data. And again, I don't even believe that at this point. When I continue to look at this and we continue to hear about the fact that this is happening over and over and over again. But no, the government would never come back out and lie to you about what they did over the past year. But, you know, I looked at these numbers and I've always seen that they seem inflated. Now, what this is doing versus what's happening with the rate hikes. The problem with that, of course, is the fact that we're still spending money at an alarming rate in the government level, which means that the Federal Reserve still needs to cool your spending to keep the inflation down. So there is that aspect of things too. And I think that we are going to get another quarter-point hike from this. And with that, let's talk about student loans from Fox Business. Biden bails out more student loan borrowers after Supreme Court rejection. From Anders Hagstrom. President Biden's admin is officially rolling out its SAVE plan on Tuesday, its latest attempt to grant student debt relief, after Biden's more wide-reaching plan failed before the Supreme Court. Biden announced the plan alongside Miguel Cardona and other members of his admin on Tuesday. Under the SAVE plan, borrowers making roughly $15 an hour will not have to make payments, while others earning above that amount will save at least $1,000 a year in comparison to other income-driven repayment plans. As long as you pay what you owe under this plan, you'll no longer see your loan balance grow because of unpaid interest under the SAVE plan. Monthly payments are based on your income, not your student loan balance, Biden said in remarks recorded on video and released by the White House. The SAVE plan is another huge step forward in President Biden's tireless efforts to fix the broken student loan system, reduce the burden of student debt on working families, and put borrowers first, Cardona said in a statement. And of course, by reducing the burden of student debt on working families, he means take it from other working families in taxes and then give it away to working families. Boomboxes says, get your boosters, lefties, you've got this. White House Domestic Policy Advisor Neera Tanden argues that the plan is a game changer for millions of Americans, though Watchdog says the program will have a steep cost for taxpayers because anything that comes out of the Biden admin does. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget estimates the new repayment options will cost at least $276 billion with a B. Biden's efforts to relieve student debt have met with several roadblocks in recent months. The Supreme Court struck down his initial move to provide a handout to debtors across the country because he can't do that. I mean, it's arguable whether or not he can do this, but this is closer to what the Department of Education can do. So, that is where they are at with that. All right. Prigozhin. Greg Norman at Fox News reporting Russian Wagner Group warlord Prigozhin was on the plane that crashed, killing 10, officials say. Yeah, as soon as I saw this, the first thing that came out of my mouth, like literally, I said it out loud. I was at work. We had a slow day, and I was going and checking just my news throughout the day, and I saw that, and I like, the Wagner warlord was on the plane that that crashed here. Huh? You want to bet? Yevgeny Prigozhin, founder of Russia's Wagner Group, who challenged the rule of Vladimir Putin just months ago, was involved Wednesday in a plane crash that has left 10 people dead outside of Moscow, state media is reporting. Mogwai says, so I can borrow money and not pay it back. I tried that in middle school and Jake kicked my ass. Well, Jake and I need to have a conversation because that's not cool, man. Don't hurt people and don't take their stuff. Now, on your end of that, of course, Mogwai, you kind of took people's stuff, but, you know, the first part of that is don't hurt people. Boombox says, Dem voters, get your booster. I'm right there with you. Then runs away like he's on fire. The business jet was traveling from Russian capital to St. Petersburg when it went down in the Tver region, according to the TASS news agency. It's not immediately clear whether Prigozhin is among the 10 reported to have died in the crash. The Pentagon told Fox News Digital that it's monitoring the situation. He wasn't on the plane. I can promise you that. Now, whether he resurfaces somewhere and is still doing stuff and still selling arms and still private contracting for military, but under a new name with new fingerprints and a new face, that's a completely different story. But he was not on that plane. Whether that was by Putin's design or by Prigozhin's design, he was not on that plane. And we're not talking like a situation in Casablanca. Look, see, is that Casablanca? Am I thinking of the wrong movie? You better get on that plane. If you don't get on that plane, you're going to regret it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but you're going to regret it. Prigozhin was listed among the passengers, according to the Federal Air Transport Agency. Read a post from the TASS on Telegram. An investigation into the crash of the Embraer aircraft has been launched, the department noted. So, that is, and again, a lot of this is propaganda. I mean, whether it's coming out of Russia, whether it's coming out of the Ukraine, I don't trust a word of news that comes out of this region of the world. In a more likely scenario, especially with things about to go back and pop off in Niger, Prigozhin went back to Vladimir and said, okay, coup was stopped. And you didn't kill me on field during coup. I wish to retire. I have served you well. We must find the way for me to fake death. That's more likely, even though realistically, I think what happened is that he faked his name on the manifest because of the attempted coup, so-called, and made sure that everyone thought that he was on the plane, and then didn't get on the plane. You know, kind of like Ray Epps. We've got to go into the Capitol! I'll be right behind you, I promise. So I don't believe he was on the plane. I believe the plane went down, and the Daily Wire has a video of the plane going down. But I don't believe he was on the plane. Breaking, a private jet owned by Prigozhin was just shot down by air defenses over Tver.
Пиздец, это беспилотник. Сбили, бабахнуло в 2 раза, взорвалось, падает. Ты посмотри, падает. Блядь. Где, блядь, бабахнет? Куда упал? Вон тут куски летят. Где-то, блядь, упал. Хуя дым пошел какой. А там вон куски летят еще. Смотри, какой клуб. Поднимается. Пиздец. Меня аж трясет. Охуеть. Где это? Блядь, не видать нихуя. Вон. Около фермы. Горим. Не пойму, у фермы нет.
So, I didn't catch a word of that. The Russian Federal Air Transport Agency has announced that an investigation has been launched to determine the cause of the aircraft crash, which it sounds like earlier in the report, it sounds like the cause of the aircraft crash is the fact that some dumbass shot it down.
Это крылья, думаешь?
Вон там движок.
Ты думаешь, второй тоже мертвый? Но один весь разорванный, а второй тоже? 1795 написано на крыле.
And I hate to make fun of them for their language and everything, but like when I heard that lady talking in the first video, all I could think of was this video. Kazakhstani reporter sounds like a diesel engine trying to start up at negative 40 degrees.
Күз кез көз, күш кеш көш, кір кер көр, күл кел көл, кілең қысқа сөз кім оқиды тез. Арқада алтар қар бар, қырқада қырғар қар бар, қырғар қарда ағар қар бар, алтар қарда марқар қар бар. Әбдіреде әбігер әтеш отыр, әбігер әтеш отырған әбдірені әжем ашып отыр. Гүлің гүлге қарап күлімдеді, көгілдір гүлге қонған аралар гүлдеді. Доп деп, дөп деп. Ескекті ескекші еседі, ескекші ескекті еседі. Жағажай, жағажайда қамажай. Зура зурнада ойнайды. Зурнада бір ғана зура ойнайды демес, зарада зереде зурнада ойнайды.
I never don't laugh at that.
Күз кез көз, күш кеш көш, кір кер көр, күл кел көл, кілең қысқа сөз кім оқиды тез. Арқада алтар қар бар, қырқада қырғар қар бар, қырғар қарда ағар қар бар, алтар қарда марқар қар бар. Әбдіреде әбігер әтеш отыр.
I feel bad. People are dead. Politico International, Prigozhin presumed dead, and Ukraine leaks. From Alex Ward, Paul McCleary, Matt Berg, and Eric Bazile Amel. Russian news sources report that air defenses downed a private jet with Wagner mercenary group boss Yevgeny Prigozhin aboard. The downing, which reportedly killed 10 people near Tver in Russia, remains unconfirmed by independent outlets. No, we can confirm that something went down. It's just who was on the plane that's in question. But, I mean, we know that the plane went down. We are well aware of that. The Biden admin doesn't have confirmation of their own at this time. A U.S. official said, President Brandon has been briefed on the crash. Adrienne Watson, National Security Council spokesperson, says, we've seen the reports if confirmed. No one should be surprised. The disastrous war in Ukraine led to a private army marching on Moscow. I still don't buy that one either. And now it would seem to this. If it's true, and Wagner executives are saying this, it will fuel suspicion that Russian President Vladimir Putin got his revenge following the Prigozhin-led mutiny exactly 2 months ago. It's too clean, that's the thing. Yes, we're doing news right now. As CIA Director William Burns said during this year's Aspen Security Forum, Putin is someone who generally thinks that revenge is a dish best served cold. I think he faked his death. I do. And I think Vladimir knows that he faked his death. I think Vladimir helped him fake his death, honestly. Mogwai says, I think they said we had just ordered them a plutonium frappuccino at a Russian Starbucks. Thank you for the translation, Mogwai. The Biden admin has minimized leaks since it came to power, but now it's watching U.S. officials tell reporters about the darkening prospects for Ukraine's counteroffensive and military advice Kiev ignored, in what appears to be the first deliberate and sustained unauthorized leak campaign during Biden's presidency. Where have you minimized leaks? They have been coming left and right, it's just the mainstream media doesn't talk about them. Yeah, isn't that weird? Legit Canon? By the way, thanks for sticking around. We come back at 6 every night, every weekday night. We just started late today because on the alt channels we're going to be watching the debates. Can't do it on YouTube because Fox News will claim this video so goddamn fast I won't be able to say what happened. But there's Twitch, there's DLive. We'll be watching it on those ones. But that's what they say that they have going on here. We'll do one more here from The Economist. We'll touch on this one briefly. Prigozhin's reported death may consolidate Putin's power. From what? He already had absolute power. He is a dictator. Emphasis on the dick. No author given. Bill Burns, the director of the CIA, recently mused on what fate might await Prigozhin, the mercenary leader who mounted a short-lived mutiny in Russia in June. Putin, Russia's president, is generally someone who thinks that revenge is a dish best served cold, he said. In my experience, Putin is the ultimate apostle of payback. So, I would be surprised if Prigozhin escapes further retribution. On August 23rd, precisely 2 months after the mutiny, Mr. Prigozhin's jet plunged into the ground. But again, and I've been asking this since we started here, was he actually on the plane? Like, people like that don't stay alive for as long as they did, especially if they are a private mercenary against the government, by being stupid and not knowing what's coming. But more importantly, again, like I said at the top of this news story, I'm pretty sure that Prigozhin went up to Putin one day and says, "Coup attempt failed. People still think I am alive. I want to retire. I've lived good life. I served party well. Let us fake death and I retire." And Vladimir said, "Okay, Yevgeny, you're a good man. You serve me much good borscht as food contractor. I will make sure nobody in United States ever talks about you again." Oh, I've been against Fox since I was still a Democrat. I have dabbled in both parties. I am mostly anti-government, but I mean, even when I was Republican, Fox was just as bad as and partisan as watching MSNBC. I use them as a source from time to time, but really they hide everything behind an ad blocker and pull autoplays, and it's not worth it for Fox News, dude. They suck. Back when I was door knocking for Gore, I had a sticker that said "Turn off Fox." And no matter what political party I was voting for at the time, I still believe that. I had a cousin that worshipped like everything that Fox said. We gotta get done here. Holy shit. Because we gotta cut off the main channels here in just a bit. Or just one main channel. We gotta cut off YouTube in just a bit. From the Associated Press, demonstrators arrested at New York City protest against ICE, say police. Demonstrators were arrested on Saturday in New York City's Times Square while protesting federal immigration officials and city police, authorities said. City police said in an email to the Associated Press that several protesters were taken into custody but did not release details of the charges. WINS-AM reported that dozens of people were arrested when they refused to move from a city street, where they sat down and blocked traffic. Well, see, the problem there is the cops probably saved your life when they arrested you because I don't know if you've ever dealt with an angry person from the Bronx during rush hour, but there would be some colorful language in an accent that doesn't include the letter R before you got your fucking head knocked in, huh? Many protesters accused ICE of mistreating migrants, including claims that migrants were subjected to questionable hysterectomies at a detention center in Georgia. I'd like to see some reporting on that. ICE's acting director, Tony Pham, said Friday the agency was looking into the allegations and if they are true, officials would make the corrections necessary. And then they'll ship them all up to New York again. Yeah, I do re-up this back to into the audio platform. On Spotify, Contemporary with J. Edgar on Spotify. Although I didn't get last night's episode uploaded because I was sick as fuck by the time the end of it. Yeah, I'm getting better actually. So we got one from the Daily Wire, which this one I think is part of where everybody actually comes together. From the Daily Wire, nearly 80% of residents in blue states want parental notification for student gender identity changes. Like, okay, if you want to do it, that's one thing. Which I don't agree with doing it with the kids, obviously. That's been my thing. But, I mean, even the parents that are for it at least want to be told that it's coming. That's your progeny. That's your kid. From Zach Jewell. Nearly 4 in 5 New Jersey residents want to require schools to inform parents if their child asks to be identified by a different gender, according to a new poll. And in Jersey, of course, I mean, not a lot of them are going to stop the transition. They just want to know about it. I think that's fair. The survey from Monmouth found that 77% of adults in the state, which is controlled by a Democratic governor and legislature, want parental notification required, while 81% of Jersey parents of minors want a parental notification enforced in middle and high schools, The Hill reported. A majority of the 814 New Jersey residents surveyed said parents should be informed of their child's gender identity change, even if a school is not required to let them know. Among parents, 59% said they want schools to inform them of a student's gender identity changes. And some of the people, especially in deep blue Jersey. And again, while I am not politically conservative in my home life, I am conservative and I am against the transitioning of the kids. But even in like deep blue Jersey, there's some parents who are going to answer this poll not because they want to try and stop it or eviscerate a doctor for doing it or something. They're going to come out and stop it because, or not stop it, they want to be notified so they get, hey, I want to call my kids the right pronouns too, yo. Respondents across the political spectrum largely agreed on the issue, according to the poll, which showed that most Republicans and Democrats want parental notification requirements for middle and high schools. When asked if schools are teaching too much about gender identity, nearly half the respondents said yes, while only 23% said schools are teaching the right amount on the subject, and 16% said that they weren't teaching enough. The poll comes 1 week after a Jersey state judge blocked the three districts from enforcing a policy requiring schools to notify parents if their child changes their gender identity. So, a little bit of come together for this one. And I'm actually going to cut the news there. So the last thing that I do on Wednesday, which will be how we close off the YouTube side, is talking about something that I am thankful for, something that restores my faith in humanity. And I mean, there are a few things before we hit the end of the button here, but I think most of this actually kind of leads to, and this will be alluding to the announcement that gets made tomorrow night. But one of the things that I want to say before we sign off from the YouTube side for this one, which is not something we normally do, is just I want to thank everybody who's come by and stopped in. Whether detractor, whether somebody who hates everything I have to say, whether it's somebody who agrees with everything I have to say, or whether it's somewhere in the middle. For the past 3 years. We've been doing this for 3 years. And I mean, during the morning slot, when I was starting at 7 o'clock in the morning, before I started working at 7 o'clock in the morning, when I still had a mid-shift job, I mean, there was an actual decent revenue stream that came with this stream. Now, coming in at 6, which is the normal time for 6 Central, I should say, I know and I understand that it's harder to do that. I mean, Tim Pool is going on with this, Matt and Blonde are on at the same time, and there are a bunch of other people who stream at the same time. When I was working in the morning, when I was doing this in the morning, I was almost completely unimpeded. But there have been a lot of people in here over the last 3 years. Some of them have insulted me. Some of them have called me a bitch. Some of them called me a Fox News shill. Some of them have told me that I am pro-Trump, which I am not. And some of them have, I mean, I've made friends with people in the chat as I go. There's somebody I'm going to be hanging out with hopefully in December when I run down to Florida, who I met because of the stream, because of the chat. So this has been a really, really good thing for me. And I mean, even when I start doing little one-off videos, like when I did my DeSantis analysis video, not this past weekend, but that was this past weekend, wasn't it? My days are kind of running together right now. I was amazed because I used to do one-off topic videos, 10 minutes long, when I started, before I started live streaming. And sometimes I was reading off a script and doing like this and feeling like I was giving a report in front of the school. And just like I went back and listened to my DeSantis video and was amazed by how fluid that video came together. It was one take too. There was not a jump cut in that at all. I was able to go back through and just start to finish. This is what I have to say. Back it up with the facts that I had in front of me. And not stop and not have to sit and do a jump cut or take something else. So the experience of Contemporary has been really good for me, and I'm happy for that. And announcement coming tomorrow for that, but we're going to throw the title card up for right now, and we are going to say goodbye to YouTube. So thank you everybody who came by to YouTube. Again, the normal full show is the full 2 hours, starting at 6 p.m. Central Time. But because Fox News will come back and copyright slap me in a second for putting the debate up, we are going to the alt channel, so we will see you here in just a moment, and take care.